Thank you everyone for coming. You want me to come this way? Good. Creating a bit of a challenge for the cameraman. I'm sorry, but we have to do things differently now. There's no point of doing the same stuff. Right. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the water. So I would like to first invite Mr. Anil Kumar. Don't worry. To bring some initial remarks around our topic, scaling entrepreneurship and employment. So the way this Action Lab 2 is organized, the Wave 2, it is organized around the priorities defined by the G20. So our objective here is to reflect on what the life economy can actually do to help us advance the priorities, right? So our topic here is scaling entrepreneurship and employment. So I would love to hear from you, Anil. What is your connection to the topic? So just who you are, what's your connection to the topic? And if you can bring us a provocation, something for people to, start reflecting on before we break into discussions.
Thank you, Marianne.
One final thing. I have my bell, and I'm going to ring my bell after 3 minutes. 3 to 4. Right?
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. This is a different crowd and set of people that I'm not used to. I was wondering, where am I today? And as the day progressed, I started making connection to the topic, making connection to people, making connection to the thought process. Because I'm a practitioner, I'm a debit credit man, I'm a banker. But spent 27 years in the remote rural areas serving, working with farmers and farming communities. An accidental entrepreneur set up my company called Samunnati, an entity that works to make markets work for smallholder farmers. That's the purpose why we exist. So I set up the company by taking a loan on my house, a mortgage loan, my provident fund money, my insurance policies that I surrendered. That was in 2014, when lending to agriculture by a non-bank finance company was an oxymoron. But it felt right. Come 2019-20, with the 10,000 FPOs coming in, and COVID teaching us that agriculture is an important dimension, and money in the bank is not equal to food on the table. They are two different things. You may have money, but cannot get food on the table. Without money in the bank account, you can still get food on the table. That's what COVID taught us. And then, of course, agriculture has not been the same sector after 2019-20. So we are an entity that works with about 5,600 farmer collectives across 23 states, with a collective membership base that they have of about 8 million smallholder farmers. We also work with agri enterprises, about 4,500 of them across. Now, when I read the definition of the life economy, it was quite revealing. Starting from do no harm to building sustainable businesses, and the topic for this action lab being how do we build the groundswell, as I understood from the definition, building entrepreneurship from the ground up. I thought I would quickly share a couple of thoughts from the dimension or a perspective of that I am exposed to, agriculture and smallholder farmers, before the bell goes on. Right. Now, from the dimension of agriculture, the vitality of soil is what is net worth to a business. You may have client segments, you may have a thriving top line, the revenue flows, you may have investors coming in for your future, you may have the TAM, total addressable markets, you may have margins, all of that, but your business net worth, if it is negative, nobody would come to lend to you, nobody would come to work with you. Is what the vitality of soil is to agriculture. You may have all the research, you may have all the ingredients to foster the growth or take care of the rest of the cultivation as a process, but if soil as an asset which is fast degrading, I couldn't resonate more with Dr. Syed in the morning where he made some strong remarks that if soil goes, then the planet goes, right? We are not paying attention to that, and that's one enterprise that I would like to spend 60 seconds on before moving on. We are basically working on building two dimensions. One, bringing in the vitality of the soil through biochar, activated charcoal back into the soil. And as a banker, please bear with me, I understand this from my framework. While the carbon in the air is a problem, lack of carbon in the soil is a problem. So we take care of the soil, the carbon in the soil, then the carbon in the air is taken care of. So what we are working on is creating a structure where we convert the agri biomass into activated charcoal by designing machines that a FPO can potentially have with a 100,000 rupee investment, which we are, as a lending organization, are building a funding model around. And then working with a couple of research institutions in validating the efficacy of a biochar-led intervention in the soil and how it would increase the income levels of the farmers. Going back to the second definition of life, which is do no harm is one dimension, but how do you build a sustainable business model? And doing all of this through rural and women-led entrepreneurship is what we are working on, and that's what makes this action lab dimension extremely critical. I was wondering, we spoke about artificial intelligence in the morning, and the bell goes and mic switches off. Okay, so yeah, these are my opening remarks, but I would be very happy to learn more. As I mentioned, this is a new environment for a debit credit man like me, but fascinating deliberations, and looking forward to get more integrated to these perspectives and thought processes. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Clap, clap, clap. Very good. Thank you so much. We can go straight to, yes.
Thank you so much. So I'm a researcher, labor economist, and I work a lot with enterprise data sets, analyzing industry performance, entrepreneurship. So I'm really excited to be in this session. And when I read the background note, it talked about the three core shifts that, is my mic on? So the three core shifts that are entailed in the life economy. So the first dimension is the change in the demand. The second is the change in the supply, which is about the response that comes from the supplier side. And the third dimension is the change in policy. So the way I look at it in terms of a framework is what we're talking about here is largely the second dimension, the change in the supply, and how firms and how industry has to respond to align itself to the life economy. And of course, as we all know, firms are the building blocks of the economy. They are engines of economic growth. They're engines of job creation. They provide goods and services. They foster innovation. They generate the taxes which are then needed to fuel further growth and provide welfare support. And it is important to ensure that firms have the necessary resources so that they can make the desired economic and social impact. Now, when we think of an action lab, now the firm dimension is a very vast and heterogeneous one. It's also very different in the global north and the global south. The way I would look at it is that the firm landscape is largely made up of what one can call own account enterprises, so enterprises that are basically run by an individual without any hired labor. You could also call them nano enterprises in some parts of the world. I mean, there is no standard definition of MSMEs or anything. It varies from region to region. Then you've got the small and medium enterprises, and then you've got the large enterprises. And of course, the small and medium enterprises are particularly important from the lens of job creation and from the lens of the life economy, as I understand it. Because a lot of the changes that these enterprises are going to make will be critical to aligning to the objectives of the life economy. Now, who are the firms that we should be targeting at in this action lab and the discussion, the way I look at it? Like I said, the landscape is very heterogeneous. One of the problems in the global south in particular is that the landscape is dominated by small and medium enterprises, but these enterprises really don't grow as they age. So they don't expand, they don't create more employment, they don't enhance their productivity. And there's a lot of empirical evidence which actually supports that. There's a very famous study that's come out of the University of Chicago, which compares firms that are above 40 years of age with those which are less than 5 years of age. And it says that in the United States, on average, firms which are above 40 years of age are 8 times that of firms which are less than 5 years of age. In Mexico, that ratio is just double, and in India, it's more or less stagnant. So the big problem is really, how do you get these firms to grow, to expand, and then of course they have to meet their sustainability objectives also now as they're growing and expanding. So I think a big part of the conversation over here should be about how do we target these small, dynamic enterprises that have the potential to be transformative engines of sustainable and inclusive growth and development, and what it would take to do this. Now, within this category, I would also once again reinforce the need for a focus on women-led enterprises, because women-led enterprises do create more jobs for women, and also because, when we talk about social entrepreneurship, the gender gap in social entrepreneurship is far lower than it is in mainstream entrepreneurship. So what are the things that we could be thinking about? Now, of course, it's innovating pilot programs, but it's also about institutionalizing partnerships. And it's about what Mr. Myra often writes, a systems change. And here, I guess I'm close to the end of my time. So let me just put the 4 ideas that I thought of, and perhaps if that's something that the audience connects with, we can discuss in more detail, is how do we improve access to finance, broaden finance opportunities for them, create financial products that actually align with what their needs are, especially of these small and growing businesses. How can you possibly bring in more blended capital? How do you allow how do you enable the small and growing businesses to attract and retain talent? How do you improve their access to market opportunities? And more broadly on the policy side, how do you create that enabling environment for these small and growing businesses to actually expand and achieve the objectives that are set out, the economic and social objectives that are set out for them? So those broad objectives.
Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing the 4 points. Actually, I think it's going to be very useful for the discussion. Mr. Hao?
Rahul Chaudhary. 3 minutes. Yeah. Hi, I'm Rahul Chaudhary. I represent Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Good Governance and Policy Analysis in Bhopal. And like Anil said, he brings a David and Crate as a background. We've been trying to do grassroots research on entrepreneurship for almost about 3 years, and trying to see how different models and different ideas can be brought up, and what are the constraints and challenges that are currently faced by, and how do we link it up with the larger concept of life. So in our perspective, in our research, what we have seen so far is that there is when you look at any individual, a young person who's joining the aspirational workforce, they do it on the basis of certain set criterias. And I'm talking essentially in Indian context, but probably it would be something which will be relevant in many places. They obviously try to look for economic maximization, profits and money, of course. Then there are certain other categories where people are looking for creating an impact by way of what they think is necessary to be done in and around them. And third is someone where they feel it brings prestige. Now, the second and the third categories are pretty much similar. However, they look at it more from keeping themselves at the center of it rather than looking at the business, which which is what the challenge is. To our mind and to the way in which we are currently talking about the life concept, I think, how do we bring this balance between what people think good for themselves in their entrepreneurial venture, and how can that be linked up with the way that they do things, is an important one. And in that respect, I think it is important, and I'll make 3 points. It's the first important thing is to give them a clear pathway. Right now, that pathway of what do I consider as important and what do I consider what is expected out of them in terms of looking at creating sustainable products and services versus what I think is my capability, that path is probably not that clear. And I think if we can do some work around that, it will help and it will motivate a lot of people to go that route. That's one. Second, I think there is a lot of talks that we have heard since morning around the measurability of these things, of all these initiatives. So ESG is something that's been talked about, and I think that is important. I think we have started moving in the direction where the sustainability reports have started becoming a marketing tool by themselves. We have seen Apple doing it, and I think there are some other companies who have started representing it. It is important to look at how these companies, how these processes, how these measurabilities can be converted into a manner in which it becomes sustainable for them and it becomes something which can be celebrated. We all know there are many indices like the profit of top 500 companies as a percentage of GDP is something which the business world is quite known to understand. But how do we start looking at the impact that the companies are creating in their own businesses as a matter of celebration of their operations and their existence in the society? That's something which I think is the second important thing that we need to look at. Also, there was a discussion that probably 40% of the startups are something which are looking for purpose, or they operate for purpose. I would tend to say that probably all of them look and develop themselves for purpose. Probably the investors who are looking to maximize the value are yet to see that space fully and clearly, and I think there's a requirement to push that particular environment a little more compared to how it has been looked upon currently. So if we can work towards making those specific quarters to start understanding this concept a little more, I think it will make a significant improvement in the environment for financing, for capital, for growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think also love the call to action, how we can really address these things. Great. Thank you so much to my speakers. I will invite you to join the crowd as well as we start our discussions. So what I'm going to ask you is to divide yourselves in groups of 4 to 5 maximum. So if you can cluster yourselves, you can use the room, you can, just be in the room will be great, but just cluster yourselves around the group. And I'm going to hand over some of my harvesting notes, templates. I don't know if I'm going to have enough for everyone, but if I don't, I have also other papers here that you can use to take notes. And the discussion will be around 2 questions. And your speakers here already provided some inspirations to those 2 questions. The first one is, what innovative breakthrough solutions can the life economy provide to advance entrepreneurship and employment? That's the first one. And the second one, what actions are needed to harness the full potential of the life economy to drive those solutions? And Radhika already pointed out the 4 key components necessary for action actually already. So you can even use those. We were talking about access to capital, access to markets, policy, in talent, correct? Super. You can bring your own, please. I'm just giving you some food for thought in case you're feeling a bit, well, not sure what actions do we need to talk about. So yeah, here you have some ideas. Don't be shy. You can start moving. Go ahead. Question?
No, fine. I'll speak.
Yeah?
I can.
Right.
See, like lot of.
We discuss first. You're gonna, yeah, let me explain then so it's clear. So we're gonna discuss first. I'm gonna give you around 25 minutes to discuss. Please take notes. Do all you can on notes so we can afterwards can harvest. I have here Shushan who's gonna help me harvest all this knowledge afterwards. So it comes after the summit. You can have that harvesting also accessible to you. So yeah, and after the 25 minutes of discussion in groups, you're going to open the discussion. And then you're going to share what your thoughts are. Can you repeat those questions? Yes, of course. You have some of the on the templates, but it's only one per group. One per group. So yeah, we don't... If you think that the question is not quite clear and you want to... Please, ask. Yeah. Sure. What we want to get from this session, that's the goal. What the goal is here is what actions need to be taken to advance entrepreneurship and employment.
Action could be, let's ask the right question. Maybe we are asking ourselves questions within the present paradigm, and we're talking about, and I'd like to, if I could discuss with you further. Thank you.
As long as we keep to actions, concrete actions at the end. For example, how can we harness access to capital? What can we do so entrepreneurs have more access to capital? What can... We can discuss. You can discuss in your groups, and then you can bring to the plenary afterwards. That's okay. As long as, at the end, we have actions that we believe are necessary. Okay? Are we all clear? This group is very big, huh? Don't you want to split this group in half? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, okay. If you are, okay, fine. Use all the brains you got. Right. And my speakers, feel free to join any group that you like, please. You join the groups, you're ready? Yeah, you're very fast to grab the speakers. Thank you. Thank you so much. Right, 25 minutes counting from now. I'll let you know when we are missing 5, so you can try to summarize your key points and decide who in your group is going to share. Okay? Either take a break or you can go to the groups and listen what they're discussing, whatever you want to do.
I used a question, not related to this. In Brazil, just as in the third sector, the civil society is quite active. Actually, I was writing my thesis on this topic, political economy and civil society. But specifically limited to India. I'm about to submit my thesis by the end of this December. I just want to know something. I've read in the articles.
Yeah.
But maybe you can give me some first-hand information how it is. I've read it from the fourth perspective. There's one writer, Sonia, she is very critical of how neoliberalism is hijacked. But then there is another who says that it has done something for the upliftment of marginalized or disadvantaged people. So there are voices from both sides of the spectrum. So what is your take, and how do you negotiate with your work?
What's the question specifically? How do we negotiate what?
You should, I mean, you're working on not-for-profit, right?
Yeah, actually not really a not-for-profit, so Impact Hub is a social enterprise.
Okay, so it's a social, so this thing is closer to your.
Yeah, this is what we do. Social entrepreneurship is the core of Impact Hub. So all the communities we host, all the projects we develop, all the partnerships, it's always related to social entrepreneurship. 8 years. Yeah, I'm actually working now again as well. I never tell this to people because I prefer the Brazilian.
So you've got citizenship there.
Yeah, yeah.
Now my friend last week, she married and she was gone there. I'm just saying how this is so shine for him so that we just do I'm person who PhD from JNU. Have you heard about it? JNU?
Give me that one. So then I was working like 3 days a week.
Okay.
Great, you know? And then it started like this. And then now I'm in the global team, so it's kind of, I've been doing a lot of things.
That's great. Nice to know.
Sometimes, you know, you just need to put yourself out there.
This,
And that's
if
how
I understand correctly, what you're trying to say is just sometimes you need to go with the flow.
sometimes you need to go with the flow, and sometimes you don't have to be afraid. You should never be afraid.
Yeah, or
Put
embarrassed.
yourself out there and ask for things. Like even to be here today, because I was on holiday when we were invited to join this conference.
Okay.
And so my boss, she had to assemble a team very quickly.
Okay.
And I was on holidays. I came back from holidays. I heard what happened, and I was like, what? Am I going to miss this opportunity? Come on. And then I messaged her. Hey, Tatiana, just heard about the G20. It's amazing. So just, you know, in case you still need people,
So you're saying
please
is
consider
ask
me.
upfront. Okay.
Please consider me.
I'll
and,
keep
and,
that
and then
in
she
mind.
got like, oh, actually, I was thinking of you because Brazil's taking the presidency. So we're Brazilians.
Great. Go and use the mic then. Yeah, just announce it. One more, or maybe you can announce it.
Okay. I even gave you 3 more minutes because I'm generous. Right. Awesome. How was the discussion? Good? I only hear one voice. Good, good. Okay. Are you sleepy? Ah, okay. Right. Okay, so as I don't know who of you was in my session in the other action lab, but the way we're gonna do this, it's what we call popcorn style. So popcorn is, we have different pops in the room of people that want to share what they've discussed. You just raise your hand and just bring me try to be concise. If you want to go to the break and have coffee, otherwise feel free to just talk as much as you want. But yeah, I just want to hear what are the key actions that you've discussed so we can enhance and advance the agenda of entrepreneurship and employment of the G20. Bring me 3. Top 3. Okay? My colleague here is capturing the info, and I'll be trying to capture as well to see if I can share something later with the entire crowd. Sir, what's your name? There you go. Please.
Okay.
3.
Okay, top 3.
I'm going to ring the bell if you start going to 5, 6, 7.
Okay. The first, particularly in the group, we had total 9 members, not only India, Bangladesh, as well as Zambia also. So we talk about the social enterprise and mostly because this is very important. But the main problem is for identification. There's a gap between the definition of social work, enterprise and social enterprise. This is the biggest challenge. Everybody in the name of social enterprise, anything they are doing, even the profit, even in any NGO working on the profit making, they are in the name of social enterprise. So what is social enterprise? A big challenge, the definition. And it is important when you start from the policy. Second thing is that there is no ecosystem to promote the social enterprise. All the social enterprise almost like orphan. They are starting from their own. So government regulations and these, as there is no regulation, you don't know whether it's a social, who is going to certify it. Right? If you are taking enterprise, there is a lot of malls, medium, micro enterprise, there is certification, definition, ministry, but there is no such as per most of the countries. Third is the lack of hand holding, technology, money, and all together this support. So these are the three important, but we have listed more, but this is the top 3 priority, but mostly the thing is a very booming sector, but it's need handle with care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For sticking to 3 as well. Thank you very much. So just so you know, all that it's in your notes, they will be available in the harvesting document. So you will have access to everything that this group discussed as long as they put in their paper.
These are the problems highlighted between accents. What are the solutions? Just highlighting.
Do you have solutions for your problems? My very clever colleague pointed out to me.
No, if you see that the solution itself within the question, so because the time is limited, so we told that we have to create a ecosystem first. So there need a clear-cut policy on this. Even if you think that we need a ministry, say earlier in India there was no ministry of cooperatives. There was a lot of things was there from the very beginning. Corporates, Amul, these are example, but there is no ministry. Similarly, we need the social enterprise ministry kinds of thing or the directorate kinds. That can make a lot of difference. So government policies is number 1. Second is also that even the private market, we are talking about a lot of corporate sector, the corporate social responsibility. But we are giving more priority that corporate social the responsibility should invest on the social enterprise.
Perfect.
Yes.
Happy now?
Curriculum, yeah. That's also we want that there should be social enterprise literacy. Nobody knows about that. So why not from the very beginning? It may be the curriculum. Now the curriculum it becoming overburdened. Every forum, either disaster management should be part of the curriculum. This should be curriculum. Live economy should be. But we want that mixing all this together, social enterprise should be a part of course curriculum. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you told we have a lot of things to do.
Right. I'm going to go around with the plenary, and then we can go back to the points that you find interesting that you like to react to. Okay? Just so we have enough time for everybody to join, and then we can do reactions afterwards if we still have enough time. Okay, who else would like to share which group? They
Radhika. It makes more sense for you. Something so close to your heart. Well, no, she's very good at putting it into 5 points for action, and she wants it that way. But actually, we are just resonating with what they said. We may be saying it in different words. That I think we all better be very clear by what we mean by a social enterprise. A social enterprise is not an economic enterprise with some social concerns attached to it. The purpose of a social enterprise is to strengthen society and human beings' requirements. It is not to promote the size in economic terms or the profit of the enterprise. One, therefore agreed. Then we talked about, therefore, what do we believe is the good form of a social enterprise? It would be a cooperative enterprise which is owned by all the entrepreneurs in it, all the workers, if you want to call them that, in it. Because then they will be feeling responsible for the whole and also equity amongst themselves. And they will be generating wealth for themselves rather than passing on wealth to the investors. So that was again to the concept. And third very important point was that in government programs and policies, please focus on social enterprises and clusters of enterprises rather than on individual enterprises, and don't measure the success of your policy by the increase in the size of particular enterprises. Because then you're just creating the usual enterprises who will employ a lot of people, and we're going away from social enterprises altogether.
Just to add, and these social enterprises solve the local problems, local challenges, to feed the local economy. So whatever requirements are local, they supply them, be it product or services.
Okay. Interesting point. So very like locally focused SEs instead of trying to scale globally. Kind. Okay. Next one. Yeah.
Hello. So we don't have a name for our group, but we had 8 members, and some high-level themes that we've been able to address in terms of addressing the area of creating more entrepreneurship through the life economy. And I'll jump directly to the actions. And the actions are essentially, first and foremost, we need to create a space for a ministry for social entrepreneurship. And this is a ministry that can then lay down the doctrine, the principles of some of the other actions that will follow. The second is the creation of social currency. So why should money be the only way we quantify exchanges and micro interactions? Can there be can there be a social currency doing that? Then we have creating, and this would be like one of the areas that the ministry works in, is creating a matrix of SDGs of all the areas that social enterprises are currently working in, something akin to a central database, which is easy to access by different stakeholders. And then, shifting the narrative on social enterprise, the whole idea of the perception. So that perception needs to be changed of a social enterprise. And then we have various other ways, access to finance would be one area that the ministry provides, and this would be low interest rate solutions and the timely dispersal of loans for social enterprises. Incentivizing access to finance and better support mechanism is what this ministry would provide. So it sort of sounds like we're suggesting that a ministry should be created. And that's pretty. So social currency is.
Yeah. I got that as well. The social currency. Super. Thank you. Nice. Who's the next one?
Don't create a ministry without the ministry knowing what it's supposed to do. We create enough skilling ministry and it's not producing. That's another action point.
Okay, I'm gonna take that note. Take that note. The ministry needs to know what they are doing. Define purpose, define social enterprises first.
Financial capital, social capital, as well as human capital. If these 3 capitals are together, then a social entrepreneurship can be taken place properly.
I think all the components have been covered about the social entrepreneurship, but 2 things which I want to add, which has not been mentioned yet. One is the awareness of the customers, because ultimately the social entrepreneurs, they have to work in the market and they have to get the market, the customers, the clientele, so they should be well aware, and that awareness might be a kind of nudge through any means. And second is, taxonomy of the labeling, because whatever the products or whatever services you are producing, the taxonomy should be, uniform. It should be at least across the country, and it should basically mention the, if it's able to mention the component in a quantified form, the carbon footprint, for example, how much carbon footprints basically if you consume this service or if you consume this product, so how much carbon footprints you are basically contributing to, and the social inclusiveness, because you know the entrepreneur where they are basically is being produced, so how socially inclusive that entrepreneur is. And the governance, because you know with the life system it has three components: the governance, that is social inclusiveness, and the environment. So if some composite labeling can be devised and taxonomy can be developed, I think that is going to go a long way.
Thank you. Are we missing still any group? Any voices that haven't yet been heard? Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
I think it's, while we are talking about entrepreneurship, it's also important that even on a learning stage in schools, in a concrete action, we need to introduce entrepreneurship as a skill that is taught in schools and given opportunity to experiment with. I think that can be one of the...
Sorry, cameraman. I cannot always tell them to turn around when they left. I'm sorry about that. Okay, there were some reactions that wanted to come up as well. I remember there was a reaction on this side. Please, feel free.
Like it's already NEP, it's been said that institution now have social responsibilities. So this can be a part of the syllabus. Like, and it can come out very forcefully because two things are happening simultaneously. One is the new NEP, New Education Policy 2020, and G20. So it will become easier, and there they tells about not just the marginalized group, but also people from the rural area, how they can, very soon there will be some sort of institutional approach to bring in people from the rural area and bring into the higher education.
Can I share one point? Yeah, please. Shout out if you can. No? You need a microphone? Okay. I'll come around.
I think I have to paste the camera, isn't it? So, it's all about two things. One is market access and finance. Now, for market access and even for finance also, in terms of government policy, let's say the government, yeah. Let's say in terms of market access and finance provision. Earlier, for example, in our country, we had this small scale sector and the large, the public sector. So government is also a major player. So government purchases a lot of commodities, a lot of products. Now they can identify which are the social entrepreneurs who conform to particularly the social and the environmental dimensions of sustainability in their production process. Identify these social entrepreneurs and reserve 20%, 25% kind of a product that you are going to purchase from these entrepreneurs to give them an incentive market access. In terms of public procurement, one. Second, I think government is not the only actor. We have the market, the private sector also is an important player. Now, many times what we see, the formal sector and the informal sector, there is a linkage. Sometimes it may be exploitative, sometimes it is complementary. And we need to make it more complementary. Now, if we add badges, say, one private sector, let's say ex-private sector, can see to promote, so we can appeal to them. It's okay, you are going to give in a badge because you are promoting the social entrepreneurs who conform to these three dimensions of sustainability, particularly the environmental and the social. So in terms of their linkage, I'm saying out subcontracting. Many of them maybe get into subcontracting arrangement. That we will promote these kind of, if that private sector promotes these kind of entrepreneurs on a subcontracting basis, which is complementary, supportive, not exploitative, then you add particularly a badge, SDG badge or whatever you call them. And and that adds up to their value also. So we can think of this innovative ways also. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, Anil. You've been very patiently waiting So your turn. Go ahead.
Right.
So stand up for the.
I think first and foremost, Jayanta, there is a very, very comprehensive definition of what a social enterprise is and how to validate the socialness of the enterprise and creating the literacy around it, if you see in the draft guidelines of the social stock exchange. Right? So there is a very, very good effort that is happening there, just as information. Right? In my understanding, the context of social enterprise, I resonate with Professor Mehra here, where he said, is it an enterprise that is solving the social problem, or it is an enterprise that is having social by the side, determines. So in my view, calling for action, Marianne, is going back to don't continue doing the same to get different results. Can we, as an action point, look at what is broken before we try fixing it? The context of our environment, the world in the last, I would say, 5-7 years has significantly changed. But we are trying to sing the same song that we have been singing for a few decades. Are we singing the right song? No. Right? First, let us understand as an action item to see, can we understand what is broken before we start fixing it? And that would give a lot of insights on what needs to be done to fix the problem. Rather than saying, is there a band-aid here or band-aid there?
I have a question then. How do you, so what is still missing for us to really understand what the problem is? Because we've been talking about the problems for a long time as well.
Absolutely.
We've been going over and over again about the problems.
Right.
So, yeah.
Just take a step back.
Tell you what is missing, and it's to do with, I think what's been coming out, that if you're trying to solve a problem, which is the problem of other people,
Would you mind? Yeah,
and it's
please.
not my economists, my problem, it is the problem of the people, okay? Unless I listen to the people about what my present policies are not solving for them, I don't know what to patchwork and fix about my present policies. So in our discussions that we are having, like we're saying going forward, and write it as an action point for life, we've got to change the format of the way we are finding solutions for problems which we know the present method is not finding solutions for. I mean, if as the G20 was declared by the G20 ministers together that we are at this point where halfway through to the SDGs, we've achieved only 12% of the G20 SDG goals. And climate change, we are nowhere there. So we can't keep carrying on with the same thinking to solve these problems. We need new thinking altogether. And the new thinking must be not from us experts, it's from the people who on the ground frankly have life solutions. They've always lived like that. We don't live life solutions. We live economic solutions. Thanks.
Thank you. Right. There's one more comment there.
May I just finish? Because I was about to finish and the professor was very enthusiastic, so I left it. What is missing is we not focusing on solving the problem, but looking at who can solve the problem.
Taking the ownership.
To be vehicle agnostic. To say if there is a new age vehicle that is possible given the technology that we have, given the access that we have, given the digital footprint that we have in the rural areas, are there more efficient vehicles that can actually solve the problems rather than going back to the legacy vehicles? Just something for us to reflect on. Last point, collaboration has to be a virtue in solving the problem as a solution. It is not your problem, their problem, his problem, her problem, it is our problem. If the focus is on that problem, then everybody will collaborate.
Thank you. You can pass it on.
Yes, it is our problem. So in fact, there is a second point, it was written there, workforce development, and then the youth. So corporates usually pick from the technical institutions or the institutions through campus interview. So a lot of good persons, were going to the industry, were a profit making organization. But the person who are left in the institutions, they just imagine that they are of no use. But they have the capability and this thing. So social entrepreneurship must be there in that segment also, to put hand holding of that persons who are left and they are going towards some negative things, some are suicidal things. So that is one gray area where must be their attention. And with the development of ESG, environmental social governance, where and BRSR reporting, etc. So a lot of environmental aspects are coming into the practice, where corporates are again eyeing a lot, like tree plantation and carbon footprint reduction. So the persons who are not deserving or not taking any job, they must be trained properly to do these kind of roles, which is becoming and which is in the path of becoming a mainstream job. So this was my suggestion. Sanjeev Verma from Gujarat, Bharuch, Board of Environmental Sustainability Trust. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, very quickly.
So just leaving no one behind. So everybody should be, entire community should be included, and everybody should be given a relevant whatever they can do, job or not job actually, livelihood opportunities and training whatever is required. And so multi-stakeholder approach and leaving no one behind is the key. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, please. We have 1 minute.
Yeah, in fact, because ultimately this social enterprise, they have to compete with the market economy and the corporate sector, because you cannot basically wish away the corporate sectors. I mean, they will be the minis. I mean, they will be the small part, the social enterprises. So ultimately, they have to compete with them. So I mean, how basically we can devise, how basically we can make them competitive to these traditional fossil fuel based enterprises. That is also $1 million questions. And how, because up till now we have been talking about the nudging and appealing and something which is basically in the ideal world, but ultimately the market economy is very, very harsh and very cruel. So I mean, how basically these can be made competitive here? Some market-based mechanism is also has to be devised, and I think the carbon price is very important, because the carbon price is going to change the whole ecosystem, and that will be favorable to these social enterprise or this green economy based enterprises, because the carbon price, if there is a substantial carbon price is there, then definitely I mean these green economy based enterprises will be competitive vis-a-vis these fossil fuel based enterprises. So I think the carbon price we are instituting in India, but that should be basically everywhere, and the carbon price should be the substantial one. It should not be the, I mean, up till now we have been the very less carbon price wherever we have experienced it, but it should be substantial. So this is.
Thank you. Right. I think that's it. That's the end for us, unless anybody has a very burning comment or any specific action that they think are very powerful. Right, so thank you so much. We're going to wrap up here. If you have taken notes, please hand over your notes, because we're going to capture them all and we're going to make them available online, and you can access them through our QR code that we're going to display at some point in the plenary. So then you can see not only the notes that came from this lab, on that QR code. So you can not only see what came out of this lab, but also the other labs that you did not get to participate, but you can read all the notes afterwards. Thank you for participating, for engaging. We still have one more lab tomorrow, and tomorrow is really about what actions are you taking? You. So stop blaming the others, right? Waiting for the others to do the job, but what you are doing. So that's what we're going to discuss tomorrow in the labs. So hope you join us. And have a great end of the day with one more panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Super.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
When you taken this thing, so if it was just saying that this is a social entrepreneurship aspect, try to be, in the ground.
Thank you for participating. Thank you.
Delegates, the last panel is on the COP session that will start at 5:45 after the tea break. Yeah, a little long. 5:30. I'm sorry, I correct myself. It's 5:30.
सेशन होना है 5:30 to 5:45.
Leaving no one behind, please come.
Well done. Now, wait. In a good Impact Club fashion, what you're going to do now is like, yay! Okay? Something like this, like